Hello and welcome to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. This is a platform where we get curious about all things gender, sex and sexuality, as well as feminism, the inclusive kind, mental health and kink, and all that makes us humans unique and diverse. From body positivity to body dysmorphia, it's all welcome here. Come with us on a journey of inclusion, acceptance and respect. I'm your host, Esther Lemons. I identify as a cisgender woman and my pronouns are she and her. In this episode, I'm speaking to Bonnie, a multimedia artist working with themes of gender, body horror, psychosexuality and trauma. Bonnie's pronouns are he, him or they, them, and he identifies as transmasculine, non-binary and graysexual or gray-asexual. Find out what that means to Bonnie in this episode. We also talk about Dissociative Identity Disorder, or DID, which was previously called Multiple Personality Disorder, or MPD, gender dysphoria, body dysmorphia, drag, self-expression, body autonomy, radical tenderness and vulnerability, choosing kindness, being a flawed being rather than good or bad, spoon theory, and how the body could be considered a forest rather than a temple. Please be aware that throughout this episode, we talk about dental trauma, sexual abuse, exposure therapy, fetish, and extreme body modification, including piercing, scarification, and nullification. We also mention self-cannibalism, which we talk about in more detail near the end of the episode. I'll add a note when we get there, so if you find this disturbing, you may choose to skip the last 5 minutes. If you find any of these subjects disturbing, however, you may wish to skip the entire episode. It was recorded on the 11th of March 2020. Now let's get into the episode.
Okay.
Welcome.
Hey.
What's your name?
Hey, my name is Bonnie.
And what are your pronouns and how do you identify?
My pronouns are he, him, they, them, preferably he, him. And
Okay.
I identify as trans, non-binary, transmasculine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how long have you known this or have you felt like it?
I don't know. I think if in childhood, if someone had said to me, you have another option, it wasn't just like you're female and that's it. Like if someone had said you had no option, I think I probably would have gone with male. I definitely would have felt non-binary.
Mm-hmm.
When I hit puberty, I would say I really did feel female then. When I think back of it, I feel like I enjoyed my femininity and I lived through my femininity and I really felt connected to my femininity.
Right.
Then growing up, again, I never knew there was another option for years. My partner started to go through thinking that they might be trans.
Right.
And that's when I started to learn more about what is non-binary. It took a long time to work out where I fitted in that.
Yeah.
There.
So do you feel quite comfortable now with your place in gender?
Now I love it.
Yeah.
Now I'm finally arrived. I love it. But it took a long time because I wasn't really sure if it was because I have dissociative identity disorder. And
what does that mean? And what does it mean to you?
Dissociative identity disorder is what they used to call multiple personality disorder, but that's kind of like a bit of an archaic term now. It's when you have more than one personality, although personality again is a bit of a misleading term. Like an alter may not necessarily be a personality. So for me, I'm more polyfragmented dissociative identity. So I don't have set other alters or personalities. They're more like feelings and zones, like voices, kind of like a vibe and stuff. So in my head, there would be several different zones and kind of certain voices will come from that zone or whatever. And I don't think I've actually found anyone in there that identifies as non-binary apart from myself. They seem to all be cisgendered.
How interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which has been kind of confusing. So I wasn't sure when I started to think maybe I'm part of me is masculine. I wasn't sure if that was maybe the parts of me that aren't me. The other personalities, I did have a very prominent other personality who was a fully formed personality. They weren't in the zones and stuff. Who was his cisgendered male. And I wasn't sure maybe if I was feeling their feelings or if I was feeling my own feelings. And so it took a lot of unpacking to come to terms with understanding that what was right for me and what was right for them and where I fit in all of them.
Blimey, that's really interesting. Wow. So how does your gender identity, how does that relate to or correspond with your feeling about your body?
That's not, I think, because a lot of it as well, you've got to like unpack like societal expectations of what gender is, and that's been I found that incredibly difficult. Also contending with not knowing like other parts of me were male or female and how they were feeling about things. So I think when I started to like dismantle that more and more and more, because I was thinking maybe I am female, but I'm a different, this is femininity to me is like a different kind of like femininity to what, like, I don't know, a normal inverted, like bunny ears normal, you know,
quote unquote,
quote unquote normal person.
Whatever that is.
What that even is meant to be. So then I started to work out how I felt about my body, and maybe if it was body dysmorphia instead of gender dysphoria, like there's parts of my body that I didn't like, and I didn't know if maybe that was for gendered reasons or if I just didn't like them for body dysmorphic reasons. And yeah, it's been a lot of just trying to learn what is like at the base of all of it.
Okay. So when we met, that was at a human library event, which we love.
Yeah.
And you spoke about also body modification.
Yeah.
And piercing specifically, I believe. Because I mean, piercing, when we think piercing, when most people think of piercing, you think of like
permanent
maybe
piercing.
Yeah, like a nipple or a belly button, you know, or that kind of thing. Having your ears pierced, you know, like the usual stuff.
Yeah.
But for you, it goes a bit further.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't actually have it. I think I got my ears pierced now, and that's it. I did go through having like everything pierced, but my body like rejects it. They just don't stay. The skin doesn't like allow it to happen. So but then with the piercing, kind of for me as well, it felt like very grounding. Like when it helped me with the body dysphoria, because even if I felt like, I don't know, if I was looking in the mirror and I'd be like morphing and mutating all over the place, the piercing would stay there, it'd be staying in one place. So that couldn't morph and change. So that got me moving more to tattoos, because the tattoo is kind of like an atlas of self. They're all my like reality checkpoints. So I kind of work out like
interesting way of looking at it. Yeah.
So I'd be like, you know, even if I'm looking in the mirror and I can't work out what I am, because sometimes I can't even see like a human shape. It's just like a blob of flesh. I would be like, well, there at least are my legs, because there are my leg tattoos, there are my hands, my hand tattoos. The more I started doing it, the more I started to see myself in the mirror than seeing just this kind of alien flesh thing.
Wow, that's interesting. Wow. I find everything interesting, as you can tell, because it is. Yeah. So you have some facial tattoos as well.
Yeah.
Tell us about those a bit.
I got one in my forehead. It's just like a smudge dot. I got this one. I used to be I wasn't like a horrible person, but I definitely wasn't a nice person. I had been through a lot, and I don't know, I'd been through a very shit time, and it just made me feel shit, and I just wanted to kind of be a shit person. I didn't feel very empathetic to society or anyone really. And I went for a big kind of revelation where I became vegan, because I felt like the whole of the world was like this savage garden, everything's being mean to each other. Like I was watching this documentary with killer whales killing a seal, and they were really torturing it before they killed it, and I was like, yeah, this is horrible. I could not be that thing. You know, like I could, instead of being like everything's shit, I'm gonna be shit, I could be like, oh, everything's shit, I'm gonna be kind instead. And that really felt like it felt like once I'd seen it, like the other side of it, I couldn't go back from it. So for me, that one kind of represents, I don't want to say a third eye, that's a bit cliche, but it's more of like an awakening.
Yeah.
I don't actually ever tell anyone what that one means. That's for the first time. I usually just tell people it's aesthetic.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, I'm honoured that you shared that. It's interesting what you just said about the documentary and the killer whales, because obviously cats, I mean, I think you like cats, don't you?
I love cats.
You're a cat person, I'm a cat person. So, I mean, cats are known to play with their food as well. So, I mean, how do you feel about that?
I think I've come to the point where I feel like I'm, with most things in the planet, like chaotic neutral. Like I don't, things are never going to be this like perfect balance of like of goodness. Everything's going to have some badness in it. Like I don't think of myself, I think I've stopped trying to think of myself as a good person now, of just as more of like a being that's a flawed being, and that's okay. So with the cats, the things they do are just awful. Like the things they do horrible. I mean, I've got 8 cats, and the things they do to like other animals and bring them in all different states and stuff, because I have all the huge compassion for my cats, and then all the huge compassion for the other animals, and then trying to like get over the fact that my cats are doing these awful things. But even stuff like with my dog, because we have chickens and a turkey, and my dog has attacked. He's killed like a couple of my turkeys before and my chicken. And when your pet kills one of your pets, you just don't know what to do, because you can't, like, I couldn't be angry at him. He's a dog. Like,
God, that's heartbreaking.
It was really heartbreaking, because you know, and it felt almost like I was being like unfaithful to the turkeys and the chickens by then still being friends with the dog, if you see what I mean. But life is like that. You can't really, I don't think you can ever look at everything as like black and white absolutes in like good and evil. There is like a bit of both in all. But then I think also with what makes it so important to then have kindness is the fact that there is so much unkindness. So just have that little bit of kindness in amongst all this like uncaring it makes the kindness all the more important, rather than it banishes out the kindness. It kind of blocks it out. It's like the opposite.
It's like having a choice, really, isn't it? You can choose kindness or
you cannot. And you know, I think the universe is indifferent. I don't think I'm gonna, like, it's not like I'm gonna paving my way to heaven or anything like that. I've just decided that I want to be kind.
I like that. I think that's all you can do, really, isn't it?
I believe a lot in like radical tenderness as well.
I like that. What does that mean to you?
Being radically tender is being kind of radically open to things, and to, in the face of like a harsh, brutal planet, to face, instead of facing that with harshness, to face it with tenderness instead. Which for me for like a long time was incredibly painful. But now I feel like there were things that I was doing before that hurt me so much more than the pain I get from being open. Also like radical vulnerability as well, to just to be open and be your like true intrinsic self, which is also incredibly hard, because that gets met with a lot of opposition. People don't like it. And if you're radically vulnerable, then you're open to being hurt. But also if you're radically vulnerable, you're not putting up those walls, which I think fundamentally most people want to be free, and that's the ultimately what they're striving to. So that's what you can do with radical vulnerability that you couldn't do if you were pretending that you were like okay all the time, or that you weren't bothered by something, or something didn't hurt you.
Interesting. I mean, I'm currently reading a Brené Brown book. I don't know if you're familiar with her material about vulnerability. And
I'm not very good. I haven't been able to read physical copies of books for quite a long time, so I'm a bit out of like
I mean, where did you come across the terms then? Where did you find out about all that?
From like the internet, I guess. There was like a new wave of people. The planet's quite like, it's with things like global warming and everything that's going on in different countries and stuff, like with the rise of like right-wing politics, it's hard to get your head round the whole thing and feel I don't know, safe and okay, and just knowing that there's like so much pain going on. So I think this was kind of like a response to it, as opposed to being overcome with the pain from it, or becoming like fighting up against it with resistance. That's to try and challenge it like in the same kind of way. I think this is a way to, although it's definitely not like a new thing. So because I first learned about radical tenderness, and then through that kind of learn of what would be the counterpart of radical vulnerability. You kind of need both. You need the tenderness to like reach out to people, and the vulnerability to accept it. And because I never thought of myself as like a tender person like at all, but then when I start to think about how I interact with the planet as opposed to how I interact with other people, it's very, very different. I've never been a horrible person to the planet, which is all like so much more of what's going on than just like the human race. Although I am so much nicer to like the human race than I used to be as well. But you know, when you start being nicer to other people, you get it back as well. People do reciprocate to it. And,
it's a mirror, isn't it? Yeah. So that's interesting. That kind of brings me to a question about sort of self-expression and stuff. So you're an artist. So tell us a little bit about your art.
My artwork mainly deals with trauma processing. So what I like to do is to take whatever it is that scares me, and then try and in a transformative way spin that, so that thing that was like hurting me and that was against me, I can then use for myself. So it becomes your own like weapon that you can wield, as opposed to a thing that hurts you. It's a lot of it is to do with exposure therapy. So I would expose myself to things that really truly terrify me, and then once you're exposed to them and you've gone through them, you kind of own it. They can't scare you anymore. Like so For a lot of the things I do, I think I'm most well known for using the like dental equipment with a mouth spreader, a cheek spreader, which it lets you see all the teeth. It's using like teeth whitening and different things to do with dental stuff.
Yeah, and as I was saying to you earlier, it reminds me of the film Hellraiser.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, like Chatterer. I think that's what I was saying. It's like Chatterer. Yeah. Because when I was young, I had hyperplasia, enamel hyperplasia, which is like a deficiency in the enamel. I didn't produce any enamel in my first set of teeth, and so I was in and out of hospital like a lot with it, in and out of dentists, a lot of it. I remember like trying to eat sweets once, and it like my teeth literally like fizzed and dissolved in my mouth.
Yikes.
Yeah, yeah. When I was a kid, I had to have some removed, and I had gas instead of injection, and I tried to fight against the gas, and it was really a traumatic experience, because my dad had to kind of like hold me down to like try and anesthetize me, even though I was trying to fighting against it, and it was just this feeling of I don't know, trying to like run away from a void or something. It was really like traumatic and terrifying as a kid, and so I was always experienced with teeth and stuff, and then I had a lot of braces and stuff. I've had like some of my teeth are fake, so for years I didn't like smile or anything. I'd have to like cover my mouth when I smiled and stuff. I had like a rotten tooth, the front tooth was rotten. So with the cheek spreader, because it reveals all your teeth, you're completely exposed. There's nothing for me to hide behind. And I was like, well, if I take that and then I like gild it and like and decorate it, then it becomes mine, and I can keep it, and it's not something that then can be used against me anymore. And I do that with a lot of different things. Like I'm doing it with like gynecological instruments as well. I'm trying to do that with other people who've had bad like gynecological experiences. So take the instrument, and then like it's kind of like, it almost feels like magic, I don't know, like transforming it then into something else. Yeah. Which is another reason why I'm interested in a lot in fetish, with the idea of an inanimate object having this like power that you put into it, and then how you then use that power like against yourself or use it for yourself.
So do you actually work with people on sort of healing trauma?
Yeah, I have worked with some people. I'm kind of starting to. I work with people, like, it's been remotely, because I've been hiding myself away in the countryside for quite some time, like kind of like I don't know, getting over some things and healing and stuff. But I'm now starting to come back out into like society. So people that have had medical traumas, I find a lot with, if you look into like a real like the psychology of fetish, you'll find that most fetishes do arrive from some kind of trauma that's happened in the past. The way the brain then tries to help you accept the trauma, it like fetishizes it. So although you would think that for me, like the worst thing would be to be around like dental like objects and stuff, but it's not. I find it like, I get like a really powerful feeling. And it does lead on to like a sexual feeling as well, but it's not inherently like fetish is never like inherently sexual.
Okay. So about sexuality, you mentioned that you're asexual. So, and you mentioned sort of feelings of sexuality just now as well. So how does that all fit together for you?
I would class myself as grey asexual. Okay. And I think for anyone that says they're grey asexual, it's very different like per person. For me, I don't feel like, I do feel like I'm a very sexual person, but I don't feel like I have this need for partnered sex. Like I don't need to have someone else doing these things like with me. I can do them all on my own. So with all the fetishes and stuff. And I think coming from a place of extreme trauma, for me, it's best that I am the person that's facilitating the fetish, as opposed to it being with someone else, because no one's going to know me and my limits better than how I'm going to know my limits. So
that makes a lot of sense.
So within that, I can be my own dom and my own sub, and I can fulfill my needs, like psychological and sexual, without having to get anyone else involved.
Wow. So I was just thinking about a video you did recently that I watched. So you use, I don't know, does it have anything to do with cosplay, or is that anything? Is that something different? It's just like is it? What is that called? Like it's the
drag.
Drag.
For me, it's drag. For other people would call, maybe they would say cosplay or something like that. But I think drag not being like the old like kind of ideas of drag. Drag now is more like a kind of visual expression. Especially dealing with things like with gender, like primarily I think with drag, but it can be dealing with a whole lots of different things. So for me, it would be like I'm dealing with gender, body dysmorphia, body horror, the past traumas. My trauma generally is the thing that inspires me the most. I think it's more like the want to get over traumas and stuff. And also like forever will be my inspiration is nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was just thinking about the sort of look that you built for this video.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. I found it incredible. And the whole sort of combination of that and what you were doing and the music and everything like that. Yeah. So it just made it was really eerie, and it was beautiful and disturbing and just everything at the same time. Yeah. And I was mesmerized by it. I've watched it several times. I'll probably watch it again several times. The sort of makeup you use the mouthpiece as well, like the mouth spreader. Do you call it?
Cheek spreader.
Cheek spreader. Okay. Yeah. So what else? How did you build that up, and what elements did you use?
So for with that, I'm using on the sides of it, I had quartz crystal, and then I had like branches growing out with flowers that I'd made and like sewn onto the sides and things.
Wow. So you make all the things yourself?
Yeah, all the stuff like made from scratch from a lot of trial and error for a long time, because there's not really like making these things school. Like
it's not like you can find a tutorial for that on YouTube, I guess. No.
And then with the cheek spear, I made a cheek spear which then had branches as well, with flowers and things. I wanted to wear a cheek spear since I was a kid. I remember the Debbie Harry Geiger album cover. She's got like big like pins in her face, and I just thought it was like so beautiful, and I always wanted to wear a cheek spear, but I could never find anyone that would make a cheek spear because it's not really something people make. So when I was getting my scarification done, the guy who did it said the best way would be to get a piece of steel, like a steel rod, and then sharpen it myself, which is what I did. And so I make my own cheek spears now, and I make them for other people and stuff as well.
Wow.
So I made the cheek spear with it too, and then the makeup involved, I'm not working a lot of copper leaf at the moment, and real butterfly wings.
Wow.
I wanted it to be like a representation of scientific pantheism. Naturalistic pantheism, like if from a Christian point of view, is that God is the universe and the planet, but with naturalistic, it's that you take away God basically, and so that the planet and the universe is divine and everything is connected and everything's one.
Wow.
For me, it was like with the bleeding and stuff in it was an expression of being like organic and mortal and part of the world, the universe.
Wow. Yeah, it was just so, it was just incredible. Nothing I've ever sort of seen done before.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the piercing, it's a rather extreme form of it, I suppose. So what does that do for you? Do you want to talk a bit more about that?
For me, like body autonomy is incredibly important. I think being socialized as a female, you don't have as much autonomy over your body as if you were like socialized, if you were brought up as male. I think with gender wise, like I really resented like the unsolicited like viewing of my body in ways that like I didn't like consent to. I know that like from past abuse as well, from sexual abuse and stuff as well, and then feeling like I've had my body taken away from me. Having body autonomy is now incredibly important. So for me, that is like an expression of body autonomy. It also helps me with the sensations, and especially with the blood, to feel more grounded within my own body, because I have a lot of dissociative problems. It helps me associate again. It's like a grounding thing. It's almost like a meditative thing, and it feels ritualistic, like when I'm doing it.
So bringing that sort of back to gender and body modification, actually, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
So you've, besides the tattoos and the piercing, so you've got currently I'm facing you, so you've got big sort of, I don't know what they're called,
just
sort of
stretched ears, I think.
You've got your stretched ears and stuff. I mean, what other any other alterations you've made to your body?
Yes, I have. I've undergone scarification, which is when body is cut to make a pattern. The scar then makes a pattern.
Right.
I also have had my nipples surgically removed.
Right. Okay. What made you do that?
I never liked nipples. I just always hated them and thought they were really gross. Like, I just never understood the point of them. They just always felt to me like I find humans just quite an ugly species anyway. And like, and the nipples especially, I don't know. I always kind of find them gross. I don't really look at other people's and feel like that's disgusting. But on me, I was like, I don't know what the point of these things are. And all these things do is get me in, like, well, not in trouble, but like, if other people are sexualizing them, or you can't be naked in public because of them, and you can't do this, that, and the other on social media because of them. And I didn't like them. I didn't see the point of them. I don't ever want to be a mother. So for me, it was like, for an aesthetic, just aesthetically, to get them out of the way, for like just personal comfort, I guess, with wearing clothing and stuff and not having to worry about them being seen and things. I wanted to take away the sexualization. I wanted it to be kind of like a fuck you to like the whole societal expectations of women to like have children and stuff like that. Like us really having the children to me is like intense body horror. The idea of having a baby like really freaks me out. So I wanted it to be like quite a strong rejection of that idea of femininity and of a female role.
Yeah, so it's multi-layered by the sound of it.
There was a lot of different reasons. Yeah.
And I mean, do you think you will have other modifications done?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I'm already trying to fund to have top surgery. I kind of, once I took the nipples off, I was like, I would like to have the rest of like the whole thing off. But at the time, like budget wise, I could only afford to like go like remove the nipples. And I also kind of, I guess you have a lot of people telling you might regret it and stuff, and I wasn't 100% sure if maybe that wasn't right for me. So after going through that like one first step, I'm now like, I absolutely know for sure I want them removed. I wouldn't.
And you've not regretted it?
No, oh my god, I love the nippleless life. Like, I really do.
That's something you don't hear every day.
No,
I love the nippleless life.
No, it's been so much better. Like, I don't regret it like at all. It's funny. It was actually because I kept some. I wanted to keep some pictures of how my nipples looked when I hated them the most, and then how my nipples looked when I thought they looked okay. So I kind of had some nice pictures of them to like remind myself of them. And then sometimes I think you look back on things and you think they were better than they were. So I was like, oh, maybe my nipples looked okay. And I was looking at them, I was like, oh my god, no, I'm so glad those things are like off my body. Yeah, I'm so glad they're gone.
Yeah.
Then there's things like I'd like to get my tongue split. I'd like to get more scarification, more like always more tattoos. Maybe not anything like as extreme as, but then I feel like cosmetic surgery, because I've had cosmetic surgery done as well in the past, is for me like a form of body modification. So I had a labiaplasty done in the past. If I hadn't had it done in the past, I'd definitely be doing it again now and stuff.
Okay. To what purpose, if you don't mind me asking?
I think it just made me feel too female. Like, I just wanted to almost, because I think I'm kind of like quite nullo. Like, with nullification, people that are nullo, like you'll have people that have like their penis removed and stuff, so they just have like nothing like there at all. It's just kind of a smooth area. Which in those particular areas of my body, I don't feel like, for me, my own sexual energy, and I don't like that they then have sexual energy for other people. I kind of want to like be like, that doesn't belong to you. Like, I'm going to take that back. I just thought it looked better aesthetically, although I don't want to seem like I think that is the aesthetic ideal. It was just, for me, it made me feel more comfortable, and it was more physically comfortable as well. So
Cool. What were we just saying? Social media. We talked about social media for a bit, didn't we? Because I know you've got, like, I found you on Facebook, but since then you've had a different profile because you got banned or something.
Yeah, that's my third now.
So the thing is, if you want to express yourself in that way, obviously it's hard. It's annoying. I mean, I understand, like, when you're using someone else's platform, they're going to have rules, but like the rules just don't make sense, and then the rules are like hypocritical as well. So with the whole like idea that female nipples you cannot show like female nipples or female identifying nipples, so I was like, okay, fine, so I don't have any nipples now. If I post a topless photo, like, surely that'll be fine, but it's not. I still have those. I still have those photos removed, and then I'm only allowed to have them up if I put a censorship bar on what isn't there, on your non-existing nipples,
on what like isn't even there. It's in that kind of,
it's crazy, isn't it?
For me, I think that's kind of like also a social commentary on how it's the whole of the breast that is sexualized as well. So this kind of idea that it's just the nipple, it's not just the nipple, it's like it's the whole thing, which is kind of another reason why I want to have them removed. Like, I just want to take away that whole thing. But then I'm pretty sure even then I will encounter issues with being topless. It will still be seen as, in some way, I don't know, like I'm just going to already preempt that that's going to happen. And even myself, I think it would be quite weird to be about being topless around my family for the first time without any breasts and stuff, because it would still feel like, I think that inbuilt feeling of just being topless, like, is like scandalous and illicit and not allowed or whatever, and you need to cover up and blah blah blah. So
that must be hard to get rid of, that feeling, even if you've had
No, it is, because I still cover, like, if I get changed, I still cover my nipples that don't exist. But it's kind of like, I also don't really want to draw attention from people, like, just in my day-to-day life. Like, I don't want it to be like an issue that because I don't want to have that conversation with people over and over and over again. So I'm getting changed in a swimming pool. I did think it would be more liberating. I would be able to, like, just flounce around being, like, happily nipple free. But then you then realize that, like, other people are then like, oh, but you don't have any nipples, and then that's a strange thing. So, you know, which leads on to other stuff. And I feel like I'm kind of quite used to being, like, stared at anyway, and I don't enjoy it. So but, like, the great thing is, if I ever go out somewhere where I'm in a safe space, I do feel completely comfortable to just be topless. Then they don't have that inherent, like, shame feeling anymore.
Yeah. It's very environment dependent.
Oh yeah, no, really, yeah. Because I wouldn't have felt even if it would have been totally okay in those environments to be topless with nipples, I wouldn't have felt comfortable doing it. So for me, it has, in that respect, in safe spaces, it has been really liberating to get rid of, like, those, like, shame feelings and stuff.
I bet,
because they wouldn't even be perceived shame. It'd be shame I felt about myself. It wouldn't even be to do with, like, the other people that are around me. But I like it now, and I can't. And in those environments, I like the shock factor, because it's a different kind of shock factor. You know? Yeah.
Wow. So do you think it's like being around people who are accepting and non-judgmental? That is, I'm sure that makes a big difference.
Oh yeah, like a huge difference. But then there's also, I guess, a little part of me that wants to kind of almost troll the people that aren't accepting, to kind of, I don't know, be like unapologetically like, there's the outside of you, and it exists, you know, other people, different bodies. I think, although for me it was a body modification procedure, it was also a gender procedure. So I think the normalization of trans bodies that do look different is really, really important. But, like, you can't carry that whole thing on your back, like, constantly all the time, like trying to, like, you know, you need to have breaks from it and stuff yourself. Where you can just, I don't know, if you're out of spoons or something and you just want to relax.
See, I love that expression, being out of spoons, and I use it myself. Like, I mean, I'm an introvert, so when it comes to energy and energy to be around people, my friend and I sort of talk about it. It's like, I'm all out of spoons today. I'm peopled out, you know, in that context. I use it. I know people use it in different ways as well.
I think that's why it's quite good for, like, because I'm an intense introvert as well. I didn't know I was an introvert for ages. I was like, I must be an extrovert, but I didn't realize it was like an energy exchange thing. And I was like, oh my God, I am such an introvert. But yeah, I get that with just, especially with introversion, just being completely out of spoons.
Yeah.
But then I had another one that then sometimes you can go for a knife, and if you had the knife theory as well, if you're out of spoons but you really need something to, like, you've got to do something, you get hold of a knife. The knife can then help you do the thing, but it will hurt you, so you then get, like,
it's like a knife. Maybe is that your energy overdraft?
Yeah, and you're pushing yourself to do an extra thing. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, I think there was even forks came into it at one point as well, but I can't remember. There's like a whole cutlery drawer. The whole thing.
That's interesting. I'll have to look into that. Yeah. So I think we've covered a lot like that we wanted to talk about, haven't we? So as for gender, do you feel like you're happy with your place in that now? You've sort of found your place in it. Do you feel like it would change further in the future, or maybe how you identify, stuff like that?
I think I've got to this really, like, happy place where I feel like I'm definitely, like, fluid with my gender. So I'm trying to, and with my body as well, with body modification, I'm trying to never think of it as I'm getting to a destination, but I'm just, like, firmly on the journey,
isn't it? Yeah.
So maybe I will stay this way, like, being trans, masculine, non-binary. Maybe I'll get to a point where I feel female again. Maybe I'll feel completely male. Maybe I'll just go back and forth. I don't know. And then for me, it's not like, I feel like you have to find this one finite thing, and then that's your end form. You know, that's the true you. Because I don't think there is a true you. You change, your experiences change. You change as you go.
Of course,
through life. So at the moment, I'm really happy with it. I really, really want the top surgery. That would make me feel a lot better, because my main dysphoria is in that, like, for me, my sexual energy is in, like, hips and ass and, like, thighs and stuff. Like, that's where I feel it, and that I'm happy with this, because I got, like, a big hips and a big ass. If I didn't, I would be looking to probably, like, enhance them or something. So that was also kind of when I was saying about, like, having the labiaplasty and having the top surgery, that I don't feel like that would desexualize me, because for me, my sexuality, or how I feel my sexuality is in different parts of my body. It's just not there.
So do you feel like it's almost like I'm thinking, not that I know much about it, but I was suddenly thinking about the Kundalini. Do you know what I mean? It's like when I think it's to do with, like I said, I'm a bit clueless about it all, so I might get this wrong. But it's about this energy that comes from the base of the spine. It sort of moves up the spine. I think it's visualized as a snake or something.
Yeah. Okay.
I should probably look into it before I talk about it. But to me, that just means like it's an energy that just moves around the body. It's not just sexual energy. It's not just the erogenous zones, right? It's so much more than that. That's a bit of a naff idea anyway. There.
I did the erogenous, that's the erogenous zone thing. I was like, because I've never had like, my nipples never had like any kind of like positive sexual sensation like at all. Like I didn't get that. I don't know what that was. I never experienced it. Although when I had them cut off, while the scar was healing was an erogenous zone, like and that was really weird. It was like fascinating. I know, but it was really strange. And I was kind of upset when they like fully healed because it kind of went away after that. But that I felt like I was feeling through them what I not should have been feeling, but what other people feel through like having a nipple. So I love like I loved the sensation of them at the time, like during the healing process. But now they're completely healed now. I don't know. I might get it back with I get top surgery for a bit, like in the scars there or something. Yeah,
that'd be interesting to find out, right?
Yeah. But then weird things as well. Like the first time I was really cold, and I would have normally have had like a nipple erection, and they didn't do anything, and I was just like. I was like, something should be happening now, and I don't know, like what is it? What's up? Oh they've gone now. That's not going to happen anymore.
I wonder, do you get like the ghost nipple erection? I don't know. You hear that from amputees, don't you? That they still feel the sensation of the body part that's not there anymore.
When I was doing the mental process of the self-cannibalisation, thinking about that like hurt. And I didn't know why it hurt because they weren't there anymore, but that was quite an interesting weird like phantom limb thing. But I don't think many people get to eat their phantom like their limbs after they've been removed. So
no, not many. No, that's interesting. I mean, it reminded me of a documentary I saw years ago. I think it was in Australia, the Aborigines, where they went through, like they went in a sort of trance and then did all sorts of things to their bodies, but it's like they didn't feel the pain or something. I don't know.
That's in a lot of different cultures. I'm trying to remember what the festival is in India, where they wear like huge I don't know how to explain it, like cover the whole body of spikes and things and hang like piercings and stuff like that.
It was quite extreme. I remember that from that documentary.
And then in like Native Americans with suspension and stuff.
It's an old practice, isn't it? I believe.
I think it's getting into a different level of
consciousness. Wow, fascinating. I'll have to look into that a bit more. Know what I'm talking about. Is there anything you'd like to add? Is there anything you'd like people to know that you often hear people make assumptions about, or that they get wrong, or that they don't understand?
Most people think, I get this impression from a lot of people that they think trans people that are different want attention, like they're trying to attention seek with it. Whereas with me, I literally just want like a place at the table where I can just be myself, and that's it. I'm not trying to do any of this to like get attention for it. I cannot help deviate from the norm because I'm not the norm. Like everything else isn't normal to me. And if I was to not do that, I would just have to not be true to myself. So I think basically I think acceptance is also understanding that these people just want to live like quietly and have like as normal a life as as everybody else, kind of thing. And maybe the reason why they're so like shouty and angry about it is because they've got to live in like a world where everything kind of goes against their existence. So I guess, I don't know, I just would like people to have more patience and empathy towards what they don't understand, and I will try and have more patience and empathy towards what I don't understand.
That's fair enough, isn't it? Totally. I think it makes total sense. I think if we're triggered by something, it's a reflection of something, it pushes a certain button, and it means stuff that you can either choose to react to or take time to learn to respond to differently, I suppose.
Which I mean, I know that in the past things like, because I used to be really like misogynistic in the past, and I know that's because of my relationship with my mother that I was like that. So now I kind of, when I see other people do it, I kind of know that they're coming from a place of pain. It's not like coming over from a place of truth. Or in other things, even, I don't know, I guess I was like anti-vegan. I did not understand non-binary for a not I think that was a reflection of my own inner struggle that I was like fighting against it and stuff. So although not everyone has the patience to do it, but try and have time to explain to people, even when the people are being really rude, like to try and not be instantly like on guard and aggressive about it, even if they make you feel that way, to try and patiently explain things to people. If they understood more, and I mean, we're all like part of this like societal pressure, everybody is in it, and everyone has a lot of invested in this lie and they don't like to be told that it's not true. They're like, you know, they've got their whole lives invested in this thing, and you come along and are like, no, I don't want any of it, and that like pisses them off.
It does. We'll now talk in more detail about self-cannibalism, so if you find this disturbing, you may choose to stop listening now.
I'm trying to think what to stop it now. So when I had the nipples removed and I was trying to work out what to do with them, I knew I didn't want people were saying that you could, like, because I do taxidermy as well, like I could preserve them, so I could make, I don't know, tan them as leather, or I could pickle them like in a jar or something, and that just was so gross. But just also the idea then that they would like outlive me and someone might inherit them, like, because they were going to last a lot longer than I was and stuff. So that was like,
is a strange thought.
Yeah, it was an incredible, it was a horrible thought, and I didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
Then I think also once having them removed, I also kind of felt like I forgave them in a way, because it wasn't their fault. They were just like doing their thing, you know, like trying to do the best for me and stuff. So it wasn't like their fault. So I wanted to own them, but not in a way that anyone else could have them. So that's why I decided to eat them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that refers to a video of yours called "Your Body Is Not a Temple."
Yeah.
Right. Which was, I watched it after I watched your original, the piercing video that I saw festival. So Your Body Is Not a Temple is a bit more, I mean, it's only a short video, isn't it? It's a bit more of a, would you call it documentary based?
It's a short documentary kind of documenting my decision to do it, and then me doing it, and then how I felt after doing it.
Yeah. So would you, what are your thoughts, like in summary, I was going to say, about Your Body Is Not a Temple? Where does that come from?
That originally comes from a quote by Bu Taplin, basically saying that the idea behind it is, if you say that your body is a temple, that like temple can be desecrated. You need to think of yourself not as like, what she says, it's more like a forest, so it's something that can grow back and stuff. It's not like if you have it as something that's too like finite and sacred, it's like once it's devastated, then it can never come back. Whereas with a forest, it can grow back over and over and over and over and over differently in different ways, no matter what happens to it.
Do you want anything else about it?
I tasted like steak, so that's
okay. Yeah, I mean, it looked chewy.
It was really chewy. It was so chewy. I couldn't chew it. I had to swallow the whole in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, which was quite cool, because I hadn't eaten steak in a long time, being a vegan, and I really did enjoy steak. So yeah, we don't taste like chicken. It's steak.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, how long had you had them for?
Like a year in the freezer.
So they've been frozen.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I hadn't just put them on the side like.
No. I wasn't sure what you would do to, if you're not like using the preservation methods as you described. Like, no, how else would you keep them?
They were knocking around in the freezer for a bit.
Okay.
And then I was like, I really need to do something with these, because they can't just stay in the freezer forever.
Yeah. What gave you the idea of eating them?
Because I wanted to keep them, but I didn't want to keep them as they were. I wanted to transform them. I kind of wanted to take them back into my body, but not in a way where they had to be in that form. So it was like a transformative thing.
And how did you feel after?
Really, really pleased with myself. To be completely honest, like really smug.
Yeah. I was like, so what's the strangest thing you've done today? Well, let me tell you. That.
I was just like, I don't know, I felt like go me. I was just pleased with myself about it.
Yeah.
I think because then, feels like a million lifetimes ago, when I was younger, I was very, very shy, and I would never do anything. Like, even the idea of getting my tongue pierced had been like terrifying, and something I never would have thought like I was able of doing. So I think there's the feeling of like you are able to do things that you'd never even dream of doing like before, like, and just how much your body does belong to you, and you can do what you want like with it. I was just really pleased, really pleased about it.
Yeah. Wow, cool. So you're on Vimeo at the moment, because YouTube was not happy about what you were putting up there.
Which is, it was kind of fair enough, though. I kind of wanted to give it to YouTube, but I was surprised they even let me have it for as long as they did. Yeah, currently on Vimeo. I don't know if it will stay there, because the internet hates me, but If not, I'll find a way.
Yeah. We'll find a way. Yeah. Right. Brilliant. Well, let's wrap it up there.
Okay.
Thank you. You can find out more details on the website at 50shadesofgender.com/Bonnie, where you can also read the transcript. And you can find out more about Bonnie on his website, BAKENEKOdesigns.com, which is spelled BAKENEKO, and on Instagram at BAKENEKO_designs. The video we first talked about is called Heavenly Surrender, and the second one is called Your Body is Not a Temple, both of which you can find on Bonnie's website. Thank you for listening to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. You can find us online at 50shadesofgender.com and on social media. If you like what we're doing here and you want to support us, you can do so by becoming a patron on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/50 Shades of Gender. We hope you will listen again. Until then, stay curious and open-minded.